Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me, as always, it's Philadelphia's #1, and some would say also #2, hockey writer, Charlie O'Connor. You get the top 2 spots. #3 is the first one up for debate. How was my intro today? Do you think it was as good as Brenna's impression of me yesterday on the producer show?
Yes.
At the 9-hour and 8-minute mark of yesterday's 12-hour stream-a-thon, we had a producer show where everybody imitated their host's introduction, and Brenna knocked it out of the park. Excellent. As she does everything.
Excellent work.
I finished up Gargano today. I filled in for him. And at the end of the show, they're like, "Did you see?" I was like, "No, I missed it," and went back and watched, and it was very funny. Great work, as always, from our outstanding producer, but a lot of stuff to get to at the top today. First and foremost, like we always say, hit the freaking like button. Do it. Do it. 29 to start, about a minute into the show. Good, but 200 is the bare minimum by the time we get done. And if it's not, I'm going to be disappointed in you. We have the draft party coming up Friday, June 27th at Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia, brought to you by our friends at Philly Sports Trips. You know they put on a hell of an event, and if you've ever been to one of our parties, especially our draft parties, you know we absolutely kill it. A couple of options this year. $5 general admission gets you in. You can see the live show. There's going to be raffles and giveaways, all the stuff we normally do at the BSH and PHLY draft party. Plus a $55 VIP option where you get a 3-hour open bar. You get some food, and you get a meet and greet with Flyers legend Bernie Parent. I mean, 3-hour open bar, cool. Right there, $55. Boom. Yeah. Problem solved. So make sure you go to allphly.com. Get your tickets now, because they ain't going to be around in, a week when the draft happens, 8 days away, I think it is. They're not going to last. They are selling like hotcakes, as one says. And for this PHLY Spirit Week we have going on right now, obviously, we've been brought to you all week by the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. Anybody today, well, the first 50 people, the first 10 people today to make $50 donations to Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America, which you can do right there. It's right below the chat box on the YouTube screen. Donate $50. First 10 people get a free Die Hard membership as a little bonus for you. So make sure you do that. Get in on it. We had a couple during the Gargano show. I'm going to get that going. It would be cool if we knocked out all 10 while Bill's on the air, and then everyone else has to live up to that. So it would be cool. Just saying. Okay. Showtime, Chuck. It only took 5 minutes to intro.
Let's do it.
I want to go back to yesterday a little bit, because honestly, it was fun. It was cool working with other people, and we got to do some topics that I've wanted to do for a while, because I had Devon from the Sixers and Jamie, and I've wanted to do that who's had it worse thing for a while, but gotta be honest, didn't like see you working with other people. No, Charlie's mine. This is my thing. I get to hang out with Charlie. But how was Musical Chairs Day, as we were calling it yesterday during our stream-a-thon?
It was fun. It was fun to chat with the other writers. We have a lot of writers at PHLY, but the first panel was me with Anthony. And I know Anthony gets thought of mostly these days as a radio host, as a radio personality, but he has a long history as a professional beat writer, back in the 80s and the 90s. And it was really cool to hear his perspective from that era. And then the perspective of people like myself and Kyle Neubeck, and Rich Hoffman. All three of us, came up kind of in the 2010s, in the blogosphere era, where we sort of had to move up the ladder in different ways. It was an interesting back and forth between the three of us.
That's if you ask Anthony, like Anthony's been doing sports radio forever.
Yeah.
But if you ask him, like, what are you? A writer is his answer every time. And it was cool getting to see you guys. I also like the name of the show, Writer's Block. I just thought that was cool.
It was good.
This is a block of writers. That's great. No, it was cool getting to see that. I had fun again doing getting to do an hour on Anthony's show yesterday, and then getting to do the PHLY Flyers show, but with a little bit of a different cast, and that was a good time. But you also did the with the draft block as well, correct?
Yes. Did a draft show with Derek Bodner. Bo Wolf was the host, and then Fran Duffy. I actually felt a little bit insignificant because like the idea that I'm a draft guru, I'm really not. Like Fran does his evaluations of 200 plus prospects. He has a big like essentially a draft guide. And Derek, before he joined The Athletic and became a functionally a full-time Sixers writer, he was paid to do draft analysis for Draft Express.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a draft analyst in the sense that I do research. I make myself knowledgeable about everyone, but I would never put myself on the level of a scout. I put myself on the level of someone who knows hockey and knows what characteristics I value in players. But like, I'll publish my list, but I'll never act like my list is the end all be all. It's more just like, these are the guys I watched and these are the guys I liked, and this is the order in which I like them.
And that's like in total fairness to Charlie, that's more than 99% of people. And like in comparison to Fran Duffy, like Mel Kiper isn't a draft guru. Like, we just happen to have one of like the preeminent draft people here, you know? Like I don't think there's any shame in that. A couple of things that have come up over the last couple of days of shows, Charlie, as I have worked without you some. First, it's this thing Jamie Lynch tweeted after Florida clinches the cup the other night. And I know like we've rehashed this and it is so long ago that it's like, get over it. But you know, some things you never get over. Some things are just trauma. And is the circumstance which led to, because it's not even the trade. The trade is whatever.
That's the thing that I think bothers me the most about the discourse.
It's not the trade.
It's not the trade. It's not the Bob trade that was the mistake.
The Bob trade is trade me or I'm never signing a contract. I'm just going back to Russia and you lose me for nothing.
Yes.
We'd retain his rights forever.
Yes.
But he would have just stayed over in the KHL and been great and made his money there and we'd never see him again. So you had to do that. But it's the trade, it's the circumstances leading up to the Bobrovsky trade. Is it the worst course of events, I guess, in like Flyers history? We went through some stuff like in Philly overall this morning on Gargano, but just like, let's narrow it down to the Flyers. It is hard to come up with something that's like still, 12 years later, kicking them in the ass.
Yeah, and of course, you know, there's nothing that Philadelphia sports fans like to do to themselves than basically self-flagellation. Like, they love it. Oh, they absolutely love, you know, raking the team over the coals for things that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's a favorite pastime in this city. No, the mistake here, and it's an awful mistake because it was such a predictable mistake, was you go out and you get Sergei Bobrovsky, you sign him to an entry-level contract, you get him, because he went undrafted, completely undrafted, then establishes himself as an above-average KHL goalie in the early 2010s. The Flyers scout him, they discover him, they convince him to come over. He comes over, immediately takes the #1 job out of camp. It was funny, during one of the Stanley Cup games, Brian Boucher, who was on that team, told a story about how when he first saw Bob on the other side of the net of the rink taking shots, he's like, I need to retire. This dude's incredible. Now, is Boucher maybe exaggerating a little bit for effect? Possibly, but I'm sure he was very impressed with the raw ability of Bobrovsky. Everyone had to have been, because Bob takes the job. He starts game 1 of that season. It was this big shock. And then he's real good for most of the season. Dips a little bit at the end of the year.
Started to wear down.
Probably because he wore down, because he'd never played that long of a season before. And then the playoffs are a debacle. I would argue in large part because Laviolette lost his mind.
Yeah.
In my mind, you just roll with Bobrovsky. If you lose, whatever. It's not like they won the cup that year anyway. But by going through 3 goalies and turning it into an embarrassment, the league was laughing at the Flyers for how they were treating the goalie situation. Ed Snyder makes the decision, never again, we're getting a goalie. That's the mistake. The mistake is you are staring at a high upside 22-year-old goalie who flashed #1 potential probably a year ahead of schedule. I can't imagine the Flyers got him thinking he was going to be their #1 for most of the season. They're like, hey, interesting prospect. Maybe he can be our backup. Maybe we'll send him down to the minors. I guess we'll see. Ed Snyder, you know, RIP, obviously the reason why the Flyers exist, did so many great things for the organization.
Absolutely.
He panicked. He panicked and he got frustrated and he decided, no. Paul Holmgren, get me the biggest name goalie on the market. I'm done with this crap. Do I understand why he got frustrated? Of course I do. But you're staring at the answer. All you had to do was be patient for another year or two to let him develop into the guy he was going to be. And instead, Mr. Snyder, again, nothing but respect for what he did for the organization. More than anything, that was his mistake because he was the driver of the Briz signing. And once you sign Briz to the, what was it, 9-year deal?
951.
951. Once you sign him to that deal, Bob is looking at that and being like, well, I need to get the heck out of here because I'm never going to be a starter here. I'll go back to Russia, trade me, whatever. I don't want to be part of this anymore. Yes, that is maybe the biggest mistake in Flyers history. But again, it's not the trade. It's the decision to not give up on Bob because they would have loved to have kept him as their backup forever.
But why does he want to do that?
Why, it was the panic move of signing Briz. And then also the lack of foresight to understand what it would do to Bob and the lack of scouting ability to realize that Bob was the answer.
And, you know, this part of it has never occurred to me. Bob comes in, has that great rookie season, starts 52 games. That year in the regular season, Bob 52 starts, Bush 29, Michael Leighton 1. What the hell was the plan? Like, this is a cup contending team. They had just lost in the Stanley Cup final. They have all of these guys. They end up trading like a first-round pick for Christopher Stieg at the deadline. Like, this is a team that is going for it.
Yep.
Was their plan Bush?
Well,
at 34?
If you remember,
is that what the plan was?
Their plan was Leighton. Were they
going to come back with Leighton?
Leighton got hurt in that.
Yeah.
Remember, I believe in that summer.
Is that what it was?
So then they were left. It was I think the original plan was they re-signed Leighton because I remember hating that. It was like, okay, number one, he just gave up like the worst goal in finals history.
It's Mitch Williams. You can't bring him back.
Number two, like you got lucky. You got lucky that this AHL caliber goalie got hot at the right time. It's found money. Yeah. It's like you hit on 15, you got a 5. You don't hit again. Like, you just take your money from the table and be happy with it. They re-signed him, which was incredibly stupid. But I think their plan was go back with Leighton and Bush and run it back. Then Leighton can't play.
Yeah.
So then they have to throw Bob in. And then they get lucky again in that Bob is awesome. And then they find a way to screw that up, too.
I was just like, wait, what was I forgot. Yeah, because Leighton's back and I can't, like, they just signed him like off the street. So it's not like he had a pre-existing contract or anything. They must have re-signed. Okay, that makes sense. I was just like, wait, what was the actual? Like, I mean,
that was the plan.
The season prior, like Emery coming back from the KHL and Bush coming back for a third time is weird enough.
Yeah.
But at least like Ray Emery is number one potential. It might be low, but we'll see.
It was there. It was an
like,
intriguing idea that ultimately didn't work out because he got injured.
We're just hoping no one notices our goalies.
Their plan was going back. I went back and looked at Wiki.
Anyway, yeah.
So they re-signed Leighton to a new 2-year contract on June 30th. So the day before free agency. So they re-sign him. But then on October 8th, it gets reported that Leighton's going to have back surgery. He's going to miss 2 months. And then Bob steals the job. But the plan was Leighton Bush. That was the plan. It was a really bad plan.
Man, the entire goalie situation from 2009-10 to the signing of Briz and the eventual trade of Bob, if we could just like make that all, and I know goalies, Philadelphia, it's all one big thing, but like the handling of those 3-4 years, that is the worst thing I've ever, especially for a team in the position they were in. That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
They were in a really good spot. They had a lot of really good, talented young players or guys in their prime. They mess up the goalie situation. They get really unlucky with Pronger. In fairness, they get that is just bad luck. They get unlucky because I believe Pronger would have been good at least through the mid to late 2010s. He was a Hall of Fame caliber defenseman. If he doesn't suffer the eye concussion issues, I think he plays real well. And then they have their number one for a long time. But the goalie situation, they mess up. And then in the wake of the Pronger injury, they completely botch the defense.
Yeah, and that's like snowball. That is what has led us to where we are now. A number of things, but like that, the handling of that goalie situation those few years is absolutely insane. And now you look at Sergei Bobrovsky, all these years later, he's got 2 Vezinas and 2 Cups. That is a very short list. I think the craziest thing about his career, other than like the Philadelphia connection, like the craziest thing about his career arc is when he signs that contract, which is now he's got 1 year remaining, 7 years, I think it's 10 and a half a season. People at the time were like, this isn't a great contract. This is not good. He has aged incredibly well, especially for a goalie with his workload. In his 30s, and he turns 37 in September. In his 30s, he's averaged 51 starts, a .908. That's pretty damn good. And those 51 starts, like that's per season, not like accounting for, there's 2 short seasons in there, you know? Like this is 51 and probably would average out higher if you did it like on a per 82 basis. He is aged well. It's one of these things that we should be over. And I know that you're just humoring me because who cares? But like every time I think about it, I just shake my head and go, how did they mess up this badly? I think that like to screw up on this large of a level, like, oh yeah, you know, Pronger gets hurt and then you start chasing your tail looking for defensemen. Yeah, okay, I kind of understand that because you were a cup contender and you want to maintain that idea that you still are. And it's like, no, you're not. You need to accept that. This is we had it and just decided, nah, let's try something else. That is frustrating.
So here's the only thing I'll say, and I've said this on other occasions too about Bob. I completely understand the going back and wishing that things had went differently. It is very hard for me to imagine, knowing the way that the Flyers operate and knowing the way Flyers fans operate, that they would have stuck with Bob. Like, that Bob would still be the Flyers goalie. Because you go back through, like, stretch. It's wild to think of this. And this, again, plays into my view of, like, let's not overreact to playoffs, to be like, oh, this guy just stinks in the playoffs. The first 4 playoffs that Bob was in, he was bad.
They went poorly.
He was real bad, okay? Before Florida, really, he had a reputation of being a playoff choker.
Yes.
Go back, read some articles from the late 2010s. He had he stinks in the playoffs, playoff choker, he's bad. Don't tell me that he would not have been traded in the late 2010s by Flyers people who were like, he'll never get it done when it matters.
No, the idea that he would still be here is an insane stretch. They could have kept him longer and had way more success.
Yes.
But like, no way.
No chance.
Okay, the first playoff, all right, he's a rookie, man, and we wore him down. We played him way too much. 52 starts, 54 appearances in the regular season for a 22-year-old rookie who like just immigrated here, all the things we said about Michkov, which made his like rookie season even more impressive.
Sure.
That applies to him. That applies to Bob as well. Then the next one, it's the crazy Pittsburgh series, and he's getting it in relief.
Yeah, he gets 1 game, but then you have he wins the Vezina. Then he wins the Vezina for Columbus. They lose in 6, 908 save percentage after a 923 save percentage that regular season. Gets in the playoffs again with Columbus in 2016, 2017. 5-game series loss, 882 save percentage. Then the next year gets back in the playoffs with Columbus, 6-game series loss, 900 save percentage. Going into that final year with Columbus, the narrative was Bobrovsky isn't going to get the contract you expect because teams don't think he comes through in the playoffs. Don't tell me that wouldn't have inspired tons of Flyers fans screaming that Bob needs to go, that he's a choker, and that they wouldn't have moved him for somebody else.
I guess it's not 100%, but it is as close to a certainty as you can get that exact scenario would have played out. But it is always just, you look back and go like, how? How did they mess it up at that time? All right, before we go any further with today's conversation, I got to take a quick commercial break. 1-800-588-2300
Today.
I have been telling you for months, maybe over a year now, Empire Today is the place for new flooring. Why should you go with Empire Today? It is a very simple proposition. Because they have flooring experts. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring. That's why they are so far above and beyond all the other options. Certainly, going to any random big box or home improvement store. It's Empire because of the flooring experts who can not only take all the precise measurements and answer all your questions and make sure everything is just exactly as you want it, but they can bring the showroom to your home. You don't need to go to them. They come to you, and you can see all of your options up against your furniture, the colors in your house, and all of that with a free in-home estimate. And with Empire Today, you get that clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing, and you can schedule installation as soon as the next day, so there's never a need to wait. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners, listen up, because you can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. You heard that right. $350 off with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. While we're here, it's time to tell you about our friends at Golden Nugget Jewelers, because for the past 30 years, Golden Nugget has operated out of that same location down at 8th and Chestnut. They've been a family-owned and operated business since 1987, and customers from all across PA, Jersey, even down to Maryland, up to NYC, they all come to Philly to check out Golden Nugget because it's where Philly gets engaged. It's where the East Coast gets engaged, because their staff is highly trained and dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. I have been on that ring hunt. There we go. I'm still not great with the cameras. I have been on that ring hunt before. It is stressful. You're spending more money than you ever have on any one thing in your life, and you have no idea what you're talking about. You just don't want to get ripped off. That's why you got to go to Golden Nugget Jewelers, where you'll get a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. And it's very simple. You deserve an expert and the best price. It's Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com to learn more. All right, Charlie, the reason I bring this up in this whole Bob fiasco, all of this, it's to, one, I find it interesting. As much as it pisses me off, I find it an interesting conversation because there are so many layers to it. But yesterday on the show, it's something I've wanted to do with you as well, and the way it worked out, you weren't on the show. It was Musical Chairs Day. But this conversation, who's had it worse, the Flyers or the Sixers fans over these last, let's call it 12, 15 years? And I think you put it as simply and concisely as you could on Twitter yesterday. Is it better to have loved and lost than never loved at all? Like, would you rather be mad because, some good things happened and then eventually we were disappointed, or kind of just be the fan of the semi-irrelevant team for over a decade now? Who do you think has had it worse?
I think Flyers fans have had it worse because while it's easy for Sixers fans to point to how devastating the losses were and point to the chaos of their organization. As chaotic as the Flyers are, the Sixers are more chaotic. Oh. That is undeniable. The
Burnergate.
The Burnergate stuff, the constant Embiid drama. Yeah, Ben Simmons being Ben Simmons. Yeah, their peak drama is higher than peak Flyers drama, and peak Flyers drama is pretty crazy.
And that's
but point being is, while it can be hard for Sixers fans to remember the good times because they fixate now on the bad times, their good times were really good. They won multiple playoff series. They had entire regular seasons where their team was viewed as one of the best teams in the league. They got to see Embiid rip off insane games where, he would score. What was the one game he scored, like 80?
Yeah. They an all-time game.
Their highs were really, really high. Like, Flyers fan highs over the last 10 years were like Claude Giroux's hat trick game in game 82 that snuck them into the playoffs.
Yes.
It was about a month and a half period in 2020 before a pandemic shut down the world. And then the one playoff series that Flyers fans got to see them win over the last decade, there were no fans allowed in the building.
Yeah, you couldn't even go. It was weird.
Yeah.
Then they lose in 7 to the Island.
The highs for Flyers fans over the last decade have been so low, and I think Sixers fans forget how high their highs have been.
What's the stupid Michael Jordan quote when he was I think at North Carolina, and he was getting his number retired or doing something. He's talking about the team, the current team. He's like, the ceiling is the roof. And it's like, all right, that kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like the Flyers ceiling has been the floor. Like the absolute bare minimum, that's what you're going to get out of them for these past few years. And it's just, man, yeah, it is terribly disappointing when those bad things do happen. Like when you have the terrible losses, that, you know, blowing game 6 at home and then getting killed in game 7 by the Celtics, that sort of stuff. Simmons under the basket, passes, basically throws away a series. Like, yes, that's terrible. But everything leading up to that is fun.
To me, the fun of sports, and I know people will say
it's the ride.
that the fun of sports is the championship, and the championship is all that matters. The fun of sports is hope. The fun of sports is turning on a game every night and believing that this game matters, that it matters, that a championship could happen. Now, obviously, the championship is amazing. We've got to go through a few of them as Eagles fans recently, and it's great. But to me, it's just as fun turning on every game and believing like this game has stakes. This game matters. What percentage of Flyers games over the last decade have you legitimately felt like had stakes? It's got to be single digits.
I was about to say under a quarter of them. And it's like, that is such a high-end estimate.
Yeah.
That like a quarter of them? That's multiple seasons worth of games. No, it's not that. No, and like I've been trying to square this in my head because I'm not quite sure if it makes sense, but like I fully agree. Like, yeah, Sixers, you've had the ride, so it's a little, you've just had it better, even if you haven't got out of the second round. I still have so much ill will to like Andy and Donovan that like I did go through this as a fan, this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But I also remember so much of it fondly. Like so much time has passed, and now they've obviously like won some Super Bowls, so I can be like, all right, it's not going to die without it.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But like, I set up my house for this year's Super Bowl with all my Eagles gear, like all my like 30 jerseys hanging up and stuff, and I had one little corner because if anyone hated Andy as much as me, it was my dearly departed father-in-law, Big Daddy Graham, and we got his awesome old school jukebox. And on top of this jukebox, I set up a little shrine, and it was all Andy's great disappointments. It was the 04 NFC Championship hat, all the NFC East hats, stuff like that. I have so much ill will to him personally, but I am still able to remember fondly so much else from that run. I think that's how you got to look at the Sixers, right? Like, yeah, man, I'm mad at Simmons, I'm mad at Embiid, I'm mad at Colangelo, Morey, Harden, whatever. But you've also got to at least like buy a jersey and feel good about it for even a day. You know, like the Spectrum jersey comes out and everyone in the city wants those freaking shorts, you know? Like you've been cool and relevant.
Yeah.
And it has just been the opposite of that for so long with this team.
Yeah, I think that, and again, this is where I differ because some people would say that because the Sixers never won a championship, that the entire Embiid era was a waste of time. And those people probably would honestly say that the Flyers fans have had it better because at least their hopes weren't crushed. My view is that, like, I don't watch sports just because of a championship. I watch sports to be invested. And I think the way the Flyers have been for the vast majority of the last decade plus, it has been extremely hard for anybody but the most diehard fans to get invested. And even they are not as invested as they would be if the team actually had a chance of winning a title. The fact that the Sixers in multiple seasons had legitimate chances of winning titles. Now, they didn't do it. They never got past the second round. But there were at least 3-4 years where you went into the season and you're like, yeah, they're one of 5 teams that could win it.
They're a team, yeah, like...
Has there been a single season where you went into the year thinking that the Flyers are one of 5 teams that could win the title? Like, maybe not even one of 15 teams that could win the title.
For the most part, they have been in that bottom half.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's why, yeah, I think, I know it's, oh, well, we did the Flyers show. Obviously, we see things from our perspective, and it's, listen, man, I talked on Gargano today about the, because we talked some, like, about the luck the Flyers and Sixers have had, and our theory about, oh, maybe the Wells Fargo name is coming off. Like, yes, 2010, the way that ends, it's horrible. I mean, the guy that you had the opportunity or should have had the opportunity, we feel, to draft, he scores the goal. That's just the ugliest freaking thing in the world in this building. I would trade the 2010 run, even knowing how it ends, for forever in place of what we've had for the last 10 years. Like, you're going to be in the final and lose it in the most heartbreaking fashion every single year for the rest of your life, or most of the city is going to forget that your team exists. Like, I'll take the heartbreak.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Got some draft stuff we want to get to today, Charlie. Just reacting to some mock drafts here. We got Jackie Spiegel over at the Inquirer. Her mock draft 3.0 I saw go up, I believe, this morning. And at 6, James Higgins is the pick. And we have spent a ton of time on James Higgins. Your prospect profile went up the other day.
Yep.
Alex is going to have an article
tomorrow.
Is that going up tomorrow?
Yeah, I believe so.
We did a show and a half on Higgins. We a ton of Higgins. I don't think we need to read. Everyone knows who James Higgins is at this point. And at 31, Jackie has the Flyers taking Shane Van Sage, who was one of your 10 favorite guys.
I like Shane Van Sage.
Yeah, you're a believer in Shane Van Sage. You're at least intrigued by Shane Van Sage. At 22, though, that is the pick I want to focus on today because it's just someone we haven't really talked about.
Okay.
Blake Fiddler, Jackie mocks to the Flyers at 22. Now, I think there is a low-end possibility that they make all 3 of these picks, all 7 in the first 2 rounds. But until something happens, we have to operate as if they are going to take 3 guys in the first round. So we will see. But I want to look at Blake Fiddler today because just looking at the measurables, Chuck, yeah, I get exactly why. Like, this is a thing that at least Keith Jones has and Brent Flair has said in your interviews with him. Like, yeah, we know we need to get bigger. 6'4", 209. He won't be 18 until like a week after the draft. Yeah, that is exactly what I think they're looking to add to their back end is a guy like this, defensive specialist, only 33 points in the WHL this past season. But it doesn't sound like he's a handle it like a grenade guy. What's your read on Blake Fiddler?
No, I like Blake Fiddler. I have him on my board. I believe I have him 25th. So he's right in range.
Yeah,
right in range
sense.
Would be a perfectly fine pick. Yeah, the big thing with him is the size and the defensive ability. I do think there's puck moving ability there. I think he's inconsistent as a puck mover, but I'll compare him to a guy last year who got some hype, ended up being taken in the early second round, Charlie Ellick. He played for Brandon. When I watched Charlie Ellick play, I saw a guy who handled the puck like a hand grenade. And I thought to myself, like, he was another big right-handed shooting defenseman who occasionally was linked to the Flyers as a possible option. And I was just like, the dude can't handle a puck. He has to at least be able to handle a puck to be a decent enough second-pair defenseman at the NHL level. I still believe that. Blake Fiddler can handle a puck. Now, he is not going to drive the offense. I doubt it. That said, he does show some flashes. He shows flashes of high difficulty passes, enough where you think it's there and maybe you can pull more out of him. But I feel like even in a best case scenario, he's probably a support guy on a pair to a true puck mover. The big question is just how good defensively he's going to be. And he could be really good defensively because he's got the size. He's 6'4". He's got even more room to add muscle. He's really good in rush coverage because he has mobility. He's not, I wouldn't say he is an elite skater. He needs to get a little bit better on acceleration. He falls a little bit too much for my liking, but he can move. He can move, and I think he's got a pretty high floor. This is a guy who, worst case scenario, will be a solid enough third pair defenseman. Best case scenario is he's a minutes eating, big, strong, guy who's built for playoff hockey, second pair, maybe even borderline first pair defenseman, thinking in kind of like the Braden Coburn mold.
Yeah, I always think of, because that team is really the only one we have to go on. Okay, who fits into these roles? And when you say support guy for a true puck mover, that's what my brain goes to Coburn. And if you can get a more physical end of that, I think that would be one hell of a use of the 22nd pick. I don't know if he's the best possible player that will be available there. We won't know that for years, or at least until the freaking draft unfolds. But I don't hate this idea at all. And just from the...
It would be a fine pick, I would say. It wouldn't be a pick I'm jumping for joy about, but it'd be a perfectly fine pick at 22, I would say.
That's from the Elite Prospects Draft Guide. This is just the one thing that stood out to me. They just go on about how positionally and defensively sound he is, uses his stick, uses his body, uses leverage, all that good stuff. But then on retrievals, he picks up the puck cleanly, waits for pressure to engage, and places it in a good spot for a teammate to carry it out. This is not flashy. This is not, oh my God, he's going to be end to end, Cale McCarr. Like that's not his game, but he is at least able to like make the first exit pass.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what you need. When I have said, like, we've had the size debate a bunch of times, and we will continue to for the rest of our time working together, Charlie. We're just a little different in what we value. But, like, this is what I'm talking about. It has to be a good player, too. Like, I don't just want a dude who's 6'8" and will punch you in the mouth. I want that. But also, he needs to be able to make an exit pass. Otherwise, you are screwed. You are stuck on defense, and he's racking up hits because he's in the defensive zone the whole game. I wouldn't say it excites me, but the idea, like, just as we start to make our way down the draft and I familiarize myself with some of the guys deeper in the first round, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm in. And I don't think it hurts that, listen, Dad played in the league. That's something. Pedigree. He's familiar.
Vernon Fiddler, who was a long time, he played for Nashville, he played for Dallas, quality bottom sixer type. Solid enough player. So he's got some pedigree on that front, which is cool. Another thing I do like about him is that he's young for the draft year. He's a July birthday, so he hasn't even turned 18 yet. And a lot of the excitement about Fiddler is that he's already good, but he could get even better. I talked about the inconsistency in his puck moving. The idea is, well, he's still young. He could get better in that regard. He's physical, but not quite mean. The idea is, well, maybe he can develop into using his size better. He actually was a smaller defenseman before. He had a pretty late growth spurt. So another one of the thoughts is he'll become an even better skater as he gets more used to his new body type. So the idea with Fiddler is you're getting a guy who probably has a pretty high floor because, guys with his physical tools are unlikely to bust entirely. And he thinks the game at a high enough level that it's unlikely he's going to be a Phil Myers type. But the hope is that because he's so young, because he has so many unrefined aspects to his game, that maybe give him another 2, 3, 4 more years, and then suddenly he is, and this isn't really a stylistic comparison, more so just like idea of impact. Like he could be like a Marc-Edouard Vlasic in his prime type of guy where he's so good defensively and he gets to the point where he's average at puck moving so that he becomes a first pair defenseman for you.
Listen, it does feel like, I feel like the league trended so much to puck movers, like just your classic Shane Gostisbehere, John Klingberg kind of guys, that these dudes started to become underrated. Like it was like, oh, well, they just play defense.
I feel like they're not now, especially given the last couple years and the big behemoth defensive cores have been winning titles.
Not in like the last 2, 3, like in the last 2, 3 years, it started to come back the other way. Like that's, I just feel like it went so far one way where it was, yeah, we're just, you got to get the puck out. And now it's, well, yeah, but you're going to be on defense. Like that is, everyone has figured out, you need possession. Yeah, even the teams that are like, screw you and your numbers, dork, they're still like, yeah, we need the puck on offense. We get it. You're going to be on defense sometimes. You probably need someone who's kind of good at it. And these guys, I feel like these types of players are building value again. Like Jacob Slavin suddenly is a guy who's like, oh, actually, yeah, he is the man. Like you look at what's going on in Florida. Like, oh, yeah, that's okay. As a whole, their defense scored a ton in the playoffs. Any one guy individually? No, not really. It's just like as a group, they're able to get the puck out and get it moving. And I just think these defensively oriented defensemen are coming back into vogue a little bit more.
And one thing too about Fiddler, why again he would maybe not be a pick I'm jumping for joy about, but I would understand it and I would respect it. He's kind of unique in this draft in the sense that after you get past, so you obviously have Schaefer at the top in terms of defensemen. Then I think you have another tier below Schaefer of guys that are probably going to go in the teens, where you've got Kashawn Aitchison, you've got Radim Mirka, you've got Jackson Smith, you have Logan Hensler. Those are the guys I think are probably going in the 10 to 20 range. Then there's a pretty big drop off. The two guys that I think I would grade out as general consensus to be going in that 20 to 30 range. You have Fiddler. You have Cameron Reed, who, while I don't love, and I also don't know if he quite fits what the Flyers need. He's a Cam Yorkish type, sort of smallish, more offensively oriented, but not elite offensively. And then you have Sasha Boumediene, who I do like a lot. I probably like Boumediene a bit more than Fiddler, but Fiddler is bigger. And he probably has more. Like Boumediene is a guy you draft for upside on offense. He's a guy who you're drafting as a potential offensive defenseman. He's a better skater than Fiddler. He showcases more dynamic upside. Fiddler's a guy you draft if you're drafting for upside as a defensive defenseman. So I like both of them. I probably like Boumediene a little bit more. But once you get past those three, then there's a big drop-off. Then it's a bunch of project types. Like some people really like Henry Brustevich. Maybe the Flyers do because he is a London Knight. But beyond him, like then you're just going with guys like Simon Wang, who is a big-time project. He started playing hockey at like age 14, and he's huge. But there's a lot of guys like that where they have high upside, maybe they're projects, but they're not necessarily high floor guys the way Fiddler is. So the Flyers might look at it as, well, if we want to get a defenseman we feel good about being an NHLer, maybe we just go Fiddler at 22, and then we use the early second-round picks to get, forwards that we feel better about.
I think it makes sense. I think that would be a smart way to allocate assets. Like we always talk about the big swings, but you do just need guys too. Like you need guys who you're sure they're gonna be there. He ain't going to be 3 years in the organization and then playing in Finland. You need guys like that as well. All right. Before we go any further with the conversation, I got to tell you about our friends at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. From the 90 million users worldwide to those almost 800,000 live stream events each year and those early payout offers. Listen, potentially only one NBA playoff game left. You are going to want to get in on it tonight with OKC and Indy. I believe it is a 6.5-point line in OKC's favor. So this could be your last chance to take advantage this season of those early payout offers where if your team opens up a lead, a certain amount, boom, you get paid whether or not the game finishes the way you bet or not. So make sure you check it out. And today, Bet365, hockey just ended, basketball coming to a close. We have the College World Series starting this weekend. Things are winding down, but that's never a fear at Bet365 because they have offers. They offer over 78 sports live in-game betting options. There's always something going on at Bet365, from the mainstream to the obscure. That's why Bet365 is my sports book. And we've got breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, I know something a lot of us could use help with. It's BO. That's right. And there's no better way to battle BO than with Mando, baby, because Mando is a doctor-invented whole-body deodorant. It is safe to use anywhere, from your pits to your balls to them thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, and feet. We are talking head-to-toe relief here because it was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, and it is clinically proven to block odor all day, 24 hours, and control odor for up to 72 hours. Listen, it's freaking hot out there. We know the humidity is here, and it is strong, and it's not always the kindest to maybe some big guys out there. You know what I'm talking about. That's where Mando comes in handy. You got to check out Mando. It's America's #1 whole-body deodorant. And you can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, you got to go to shopmando.com because Mando's starter pack is the perfect fit for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like, say, mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and that free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So use code PHLY at shopmando.com. That's code PHLY at shopmando.com. And please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. It's a long one. All right, now it is time for the big deal presented by Cherry Hill Jeep. That's right, check out Cherry Hill Jeep. They have been since, I believe, 1967, the market leaders in Jeep and Dodge Ram truck deals. Check them out, Cherry Hill Jeep and cherryhilljeep.com.
It's not Mitsubishi, though.
So the big deal today, it's not so much a contract or a trade. It is the idea that, we talked about earlier how the Flyers have kind of been irrelevant. And not kind of. They are at the bottom of the public consciousness here in a sports wild town that is Philadelphia.
I would say so, yes.
I see these Alexander Romanov rumors out there yesterday. It's RG Media, which has had some scoops and different things in recent months. But it's not even so much that, oh, yeah, maybe we're trading for this guy. Who knows? Perhaps. It's the fact that we just keep seeing the Flyers name pop up in things. And it makes me feel good that once again, the team itself could be becoming a big deal, Charlie. Like, forever, we've called them the chaos organization because forever it was they're linked to everything. Are they firing their coach? Is they're making some deal? Or they're giving a goalie 9 years, $51 million because the owner just said so. Like they have been that team for a lot of our life that was, did they make every move? No, but they were linked to everything.
Right.
And whether or not there is legitimacy to this, oh yeah, they've called up about Alexander Romanov. I bet Danny Briere has called every team to talk about something or another in the past few weeks or months. But it's the fact that a media outlet, and again, I don't know their motivations.
Right.
I assume they are on the up and up. But when you include the Flyers, it's not snooze. There's not little snore Z's coming out from the fan base. There is incentive for the Flyers to be in these conversations because the fan base is picking back up. And that excites me more than anything. The fact that we're just mentioned in rumors because, well, if nothing else, we'll get some clicks from Philly.
Well, Flyers fans are nuts. We know that. And they do drive a lot of interest because there are a lot of fans that are active on social media and a lot of fans that are just active online in general that are starved for news. They're starved for their team to be better. So it makes sense. I also suspect that some of this is driven by the fact that, and we know this, both because Briere straight up said it, but also because we very much get the impression from the conversations that, that I've had around in league circles, but also that all the other insiders have had around league circles. Flyers are kind of in on everybody in the sense that Danny has a lot of conversations. Doesn't necessarily mean that he desperately wants Nicholas Hague, but he's probably had a conversation with Vegas about Nicholas Hague, about maybe players on Vegas that we don't even know could theoretically be available. It seems like Briere is a no stone left unturned type of GM in the sense of conversation. Now, whether that actually turns into deals executed, unclear. We'll see how that happens this offseason, next offseason when they look to turn the corner. But I do believe that Briere is having a lot of conversations. And when you have a lot of conversations, and then let's say you're the New York Islanders who maybe want to get out that we're doing things. I swear, we're doing stuff. And maybe you leak to a reporter like, yeah, we talked to Philly because everybody's talked to Philly. And it just gives them more opportunities to say like, yeah, we've had a conversation with this guy with Danny, and doesn't necessarily mean that Danny's going to rush to trade for Alexander Romanov, but it gives an Islanders source the ability to tell an Islanders writer or an Islanders insider or a league insider, yeah, we've talked to Boston, we've talked to LA, we've talked to Philly, because everybody's talked to Philly. I wouldn't be surprised if that's more of this situation, because if you read the article from RG, the article about this particular rumor, it doesn't really showcase a lot of knowledge about the Flyers' current situation. I'm going to go through the article. First paragraph, the writer mentions about Cam York, could be on the move. Now, is it possible Cam York could be on the move? Yeah, but I don't get the sense that they are itching to move him. So he's like, Cam York could be on the move. That would open up a spot for Romanov. So that's Number one, where I'm raising my eyebrows of like, all right, do you really understand what the Flyers are doing? Number two, talks about Romanov rounding out the left side of the defense after Travis Sanheim. Travis Sanheim is a right side defenseman now pretty much exclusively. That showcases you don't really understand the makeup of the Flyers defense, at least the way the Flyers see it. Then number three, in the third paragraph, he talks about how this could be an opportunity, the Flyers trading for Romanov could be an opportunity for the Flyers for the Islanders to trade back up into the first round to get James Higgins if he slips. I do not see a world where the Flyers would trade away the 6th overall pick completely. Now, could you see a world where they trade down a couple spots? Yeah, I guess that could happen. World where they trade up a couple spots? Sure. But I don't see a world where they just trade the 6th overall pick away, especially for a guy in Romanov who is interesting, but he's not elite. Like they're not going to value a middle of the lineup physical blue liner so much that they're going to give up maybe their best opportunity to get a top of the lineup center that they're going to have in the Danny Briere rebuild. So you read this article and you think to yourself, like, I don't know if this writer fully understands the Flyers, and it makes me less likely to believe the rumor.
And that's like, yeah, if the 6th pick is even in conversation, it's like, oh yeah, we also talked about Romanov, but Barzal is going.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. And Romanov we might throw in. No, like it makes sense to me that the Islanders would be looking to move him. He just based on what they have. Pelican Pulock signed long-term. Mayfield signed long-term. Noah Dobson needs a contract.
And they're about to get
They are about to sign Matthew Schaefer.
Yes, they're about to get Schaefer.
I just named 5 defensemen.
Right.
You only dress 6 at a time.
It totally makes sense that the Islanders are looking to potentially move Romanov, who's going to get a big contract this summer, probably in the $5 million and over AAV range, and he probably deserves it. He's a good player. It also makes sense that they want to try to trade back up to get James Higgins. Local guy, they probably love him. I don't know where the Flyers fit in here, other than Briere's probably having a lot of conversations, and this guy's trying to connect the dots without fully understanding where the Flyers sit.
Like, I guess if just to try to galaxy brain it, if I could try to add something to make it make a little bit more sense, not on the Flyers end giving up 6, that makes no sense.
Yeah, that makes zero sense.
Unless, again, like Barzal is coming.
Yeah.
But like, okay, they want to get back in position. We're taking Schaefer because, yeah, we're taking Schaefer. We want to get back and try to get in position to get James Higgins, local kid, and we need some help. We're not very good. Makes sense. Maybe it's 31 for Romanov just to give.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we have the Islanders. We have more ammo to try to trade to get back into the top 6 or 8 or 10 or wherever the hell they think they're going to get Higgins.
Right.
Whatever it is. Like, all right, that might make some sense. Just trying to, I have no idea. Maybe this is all just made up, but like I trying to galaxy braid it that way. But no, once you bring up the 6th pick, makes no sense. The thing, we know the Flyers want to get bigger on the back end, and Romanov is 6'1", he's 25, and he's like 150 hit, 150 block.
Yeah, he plays a
guy.
physical game.
Yeah.
So it would not shock me if the Flyers, who I do believe want to get more physical on the back end, have at least had a conversation about it. But the way this rumor is framed, when you delve into what actually was written, it makes me less likely to believe that it's more than the Flyers checking in on a guy they probably are intrigued by.
Hey, we like him.
Yeah.
What's that? And like we talked about this before we went live. The Flyers connections and a couple of these rumors that we've talked about recently. Well, you know what? Vegas makes a ton of deals. Vegas is always wheeling and dealing, and we know that Danny, like, he hasn't said this is the year, but would it surprise anyone if they get aggressive on something? If they pull off something? No, not at all. Well, okay, we can make those connections because I'm sure they've talked. New management in Long Island. They want to make some room for Schaefer. They want to make it look like they're doing something. Oh, well, yeah, Danny calls everybody. This makes sense. Like, it just, but for the big deal purposes, it just makes me happy that, like, every rumor that I've seen for the past couple of weeks has involved the Flyers. And whether
it makes you happy from a show creation standpoint.
Absolutely. We just talked about a thing that ain't going to happen for 10 minutes. That's great. But like, just as a fan to see we're involved in it's a team that someone cares about enough to include in the article. I don't know. It just makes me happy that the Flyers could once again be coming.
It's true.
Could be becoming a big deal.
That said, again, you know, there's only so many times you can be involved in rumors without doing something until people just think, oh, so you're just putting your name out in rumors to make us think you're going to do something when you don't actually do it.
Oh, that's still like, we need Danny to do his job.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like the risk of being involved in every rumor and not doing anything is that everybody is like, you're the boy who cried wolf.
Yes. No, there's one, like, there's two sides of this for me. Like, the fan of the Flyers who wants Danny to do his job so the team gets better. Like, yeah, do something, make the team better. And then there's like the one, like, I love the logo and I want the perception of the team to be high end. Like, that part of it is what excites me right now. But okay. I need Danny to do stuff for both show purposes and to make the team better.
I'm just saying, if you're going to be involved in every rumor,
you
eventually you
actually have to do it.
Because if you don't, then it's just going to be like, oh, so you're just throwing all these rumors out to make us think you're doing things. You're just pushing paper around.
The place I got with Scott Lawton and Morgan Frost was just like, I can't have this conversation anymore. They need to do it for my sanity. And like that, we will absolutely get there if we continue to see, oh yeah, the Flyers are linked to every single guy out there. They made no moves. Yeah. They are, in fact, their goalies are going to be Erson and Fedotov again. Like, well, now I'm mad. Now I'm just mad for no reason. All right, I want to wrap it up with a couple of quick things here, Charlie. First, the Trent Frederic contract.
8 years, huh?
We have talked about how this will be sticker shock summer, and we can tell ourselves and the audience, like, yeah, man, get ready for it. But then when you actually see the numbers, you go, ooh, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's just going to happen. That's going to happen with every single free agent because we have lived in, even before the COVID flat cap, like a world where, oh yeah, they negotiated cap ain't going up or cap's going up. It could go up 5% and it went up 1.5%. Like, we lived in a world where it didn't rise for so many years. Yep. Now it's bound. Now it's projected to make several dramatic jumps. Do you think this is like the kind of contract we have to get used to, or it's still, 8 times 4 for Trent Frederic's nuts?
I mean, it is nuts, but it also speaks to how much money these guys are going to be getting. Now, the cap is probably too much, but it's mostly the term that is a sticker shock here. 8 years for a guy who, like, okay, so he played for Edmonton. He played 1 game after being traded for, and in the regular season, then 22 games in the playoffs. He had 4 points. 4 points in 23 games for Edmonton. And they're like, yeah, we need that for 8 more years. That's crazy.
That's the, like, with the Trent Frederics of the world, the sticker shock is one thing, and we're going to have to get used to that. Do you think this is when we say teams are going to do dumb stuff in response to Florida, and like, this is the team that's going up against Florida 2 years in a row.
Right.
Like, this is like, Sam Bennett, he falls on the goalie and he cross-checks people and does all this crazy stuff, but also just led the playoffs in scoring. Like, that's the important part, and the other stuff is a bonus.
Right.
It's like, well, Trent Frederic does all the other stuff. Like I said the other day about, like, I like Garnet Hathaway a lot. If we're going to count on him to play 17 minutes at a playoff game, I don't like our chances in that playoff game. Like, that's kind of this, no? This is the stranglehold that's going to kill teams.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I know Trent Frederic is big. Do you really think they did this because of the Florida effect?
Trading for him at the deadline and like all that, like, you don't want to lose. And I get all, it's just like, I do think that there's going to be this overvaluing of the other stuff when it's like, well, start with the good players and go from there. And also just investing 8 years in a guy that, like, doesn't really decide wins and losses for you all that much that's more nuts than anything. Oh, we actually have a super chat?
We're getting super chats again. Somehow slipped through.
Somehow Jake Chambers got it through. Let's hit a super chat. Absolutely. Because, like, I don't know how much time we're going to spend on Trent Frederic. I just found it kind of like, yeah. And that was the whole internet's reaction, like, yesterday.
8
like,
years?
Not even like, what the hell are they doing? It's like, huh, how about that?
Yeah.
All right, Jake and we're going to overtime. Head to allphly.com if you're watching on TV. All right, from Jake Chambers, let's get to this one super chat here. Flyers should consider acquiring Skinner. Low risk, 1 year left at $2.6 million. Provides what we've all been saying: leave at league average goaltending, .906 career save percentage.
For Jake, is there any inkling that he's available?
From what I have seen and heard,
There was some chatter after he got benched for Pickard for like a few games earlier in the playoffs, but then he took the job back.
It's like they probably want to upgrade goaltending, but Skinner is part of tandem or becomes backup, not moving on from.
Yeah.
But listen, if he's available, I think that is an interesting option. I'm not flat out against it right away.
I would agree.
I am negatively predisposed to him right now, but that's one of them. Oh yeah, he's gonna be great for you in the playoffs. Like playoffs,
yeah. Well, and
the last thing in the world I'm gonna care about is the playoffs.
In fairness, Skinner was great in some games in the playoffs. He was just real bad in some other games in the playoffs.
He is, I guess, the worst thing you can be, especially in the playoffs as a goalie, is inconsistent. Like Cal Pickard is meh. And you know exactly what you're going to get out of him. So even if it's his baseline is worse than what Stu Skinner might give you, at least you know. And Skinner, yeah, man, he just had 2 shutouts and then he got shelled. This is just frustrating.
Yeah.
And that drives people nuts.
I guess it's what you need, because I go back to the classic Washington-Montreal series in 2010 where Yaroslav Halak was incredible in 4 games and he got pulled in like 2 others. But that was the perfect series for him because Montreal was totally overmatched, and basically the only way they were going to beat the high-powered Ovechkin at peak Ovechkin powers offense was to have a goalie stand on his head for 3-4 games and steal games. Like losing 7-1, who cares? The same as losing 4-2. And if he can steal 3 games, maybe we have a shot. So for some teams, maybe the high variance goalie is more helpful in the playoffs. But for a team like Edmonton that is real good, you just need decent.
Please don't lose us a game. Like that's it. Please don't lose us a game. That's all you're asking for. All right. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I'm good.
All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube. Set that reminder bell. JH getting in at the very last minute.
I didn't think we were allowed to do
I didn't know
super
chats were a thing, and now they're back.
Whatever.
We did hit 200 likes, so awesome. Great stream yesterday. Bill loves Mitsubishi. I do. All right, I tweeted this out last night.
So good.
I tweeted this out last night. I'm sorry, we're now extending this. In the Eminem song, One Shot, Two Shot,
okay,
they pronounce Mitsubishi like me.
All right.
A black Mitsubishi pulls up behind someone and takes some shots at them.
Okay.
And I'm looking for someone in a black Mitsubishi. They say it like me. So I think everyone else is wrong. Now, I'm not using this as defense. I'm just saying I'm not alone.
Okay.
All right. That's it. Yeah, follow us here on YouTube. Follow on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. Follow the podcast wherever you get those. And donate to the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. $50 donations. First 10 people. Boom. You're a diehard for a year. It's that simple. Make sure you get in on this action. It is Big Brothers, Big Sisters coming to us all week. We are raising funds for them, and we have taken the lead in the All-City competition.
Yeah.
So now we need to just push Chicago down and continue defeating them. All right. Yeah, revenge for 2010. All right. That is all the time. I'm Bill. That's Charlie. Until tomorrow, be excellent to each other.
We all silly like the mayor.